Hi there, I'm going to read another book. This one's called The Mitten Tree, and it is written by Candace Christiansen and illustrated by Elaine Greenstein. I realized I should be telling you the authors and the illustrators because that's important to know. Well, this book, The Mitten Tree, was a new book to me, but I thought it had a nice story, so I'm going to read it to you. Here is a picture, and we're going to talk about this nice lady in a minute. There she is. It's a mom waiting at a bus stop with her two children. She looks like a little girl and a little boy. Maybe a little higher for you. And they're waiting by, well, they're supposed to be waiting by the blue spruce tree, but this picture doesn't show a blue spruce tree. That looks a lot like a Christmas tree. Well, excuse me, here we go. At the end of a long lane, in a tiny little house, old Sarah lived alone. Her children had grown up and moved away, but Sarah still remembered the mornings when she walked with them to the blue spruce tree where they waited for the school bus. Now each morning she opened her shutters and watched for new children to arrive. Here's a picture of her house. It looks like a warm, cozy house, doesn't it? And if you peek closely, you can see her looking out the window. She's watching children from her neighborhood lining up at the bus stop. Marcus goes to a bus stop when school is in session, right? Every chilly morning, Sarah pulled on her warm coat and started down the lane. And as she walked past the children on her way to the mailbox, she wished they would smile or wave. But they never did. The children didn't even seem to notice her. And that's kind of weird, isn't it? Still, when she saw them, she couldn't help but smile. And there's a picture of our friend Sarah. We saw her out the window. There she's putting on her coat. And one winter morning after the first snow had fallen, all the children were making snowmen and throwing snowballs. All except for one little boy in a blue cap and coat. Even his boots were a dark shade of blue. He stood away from the others with his hands sunk deep in his pockets. When the school bus arrived, he lingered behind and was last in line. As Sarah watched the little boy climb into the bus, she could see one thing. He had no mittens. There's the kids having fun. You guys have all made snowmen before, I think. And this guy's getting ready to throw one. Here's this guy all by himself, and his hands are cold. She discovered the reason his hands were in his pockets is because he had no mittens. Well, all that day, Sarah couldn't stop worrying about the little boy with no mittens. Late in the afternoon, as the sky grew dark, Sarah dug through the basket of yarn scraps she had saved for many years, and she found her needles. Well, I have a couple knitting needles here just to give you an idea what they look like. Knitting needles. I am not a knitter, but your moms know how. And she got her knitting needles out. And she also found the old wool, like I said, that she had used before, and they were in little balls like this. Maybe some were bigger, some were smaller. This is one of my mom's that she had left from some knitting she did. And ladies that like to knit, and some men, will save their balls of yarn. They will wrap them up in a ball and save them for another day. And that's just what Sarah had done. And in her basket of yarn, she found 4 shades of blue wool. And she knew that boy had the blue coat, remember, and the blue boots. So she began to knit. And there she is in her nice cozy living room with the fireplace going and her nice chair. There's a big basket of balls of yarn, and here she is busy with her knitting needles. She got right to work. She had a good idea in her head, didn't she? Well, Sarah worked late into the night, and when the sun began to rise, she hurried to the bus stop, and she didn't give it to the little boy. She hung the mittens on the old blue spruce tree. From behind the hedge, Sarah watched. So behind a row of bushes, she was kind of like, come out, but trying not for anybody to see her. The little boy was the first to arrive. He saw the mittens. He reached up and tried them on. They fit! And with a big smile, he made a perfect snowball and threw it high into the winter sky. He was so happy. We don't know his story, but maybe his family couldn't afford mittens, or maybe his had worn out and they, Mom said, you'll have to wait because we don't have enough money. We don't know the story, but we know he was so happy to have those mittens, wasn't he? Well, soon a little girl in a red coat arrived. Her mittens didn't match. And that night, Sarah knitted with what kind of yarn do you think? If the little girl had a red coat? Right, she knitted with red yarn that night, just like I have here. She had mittens maybe like this, you think? And they didn't match. So she said, I'll make her a couple of red mittens, right? Well, every day now as Sarah went to the mailbox, she watched for children without mittens, and then she would hurry home and knit. And early in the morning, she would hang the new mittens on the tree. The children loved the game. Sounds kind of fun, right? Each day they would search under every branch and bow for another pair of mittens. See, there they are searching through the tree. That's a big, like a Christmas tree, like I said, but a real big one, right? And the kids are having fun looking like, where will the mittens be today? And once or twice, Sarah thought that the boy with the blue mittens, the one she first knitted for, had seen her. And she wanted to be a secret, so she thought he may have seen her, but he always looked away. So she couldn't be sure. Well, night after night, Sarah knitted mittens in every color. Some had stripes, some had hearts, some even had little snowflakes all over them. And somehow, even though she had never spoken to the children, Sarah felt that they had become her new family. That's kind of special, isn't it? And here she is sitting in her living room. You can see her from the front this time. With her knitting needles and her yarn and her basket. Look at that, that was full of yarn. It's getting kind of empty, isn't it? But look at all the mittens on the floor. She is a busy lady. And it's been a joy for her because she didn't have a lot to do and she was kind of lonely. I noticed a picture of a family member there and a family member on the table in a picture. Probably her son and daughter all grown up. And they probably live far away. On the last day before winter vacation, Sarah awakened before dawn. She took the empty basket that had once held her yarn and filled it to the brim with mittens. And then out the door and down the steps she headed. And when she got to the blue spruce tree, she hung mittens on every branch. There she is. You can see she's happy about that. Look how many mittens are in there, all colors and kinds. It would be fun to get a pair of mittens from that nice lady, wouldn't it? And so she went out early, like I said, before dawn, got everything ready so the mittens would be there before the children arrived. The boy with the blue mittens was the first to arrive. He stood very still, and he waited for the others. In fact, all the children stood very still for a few minutes, just looking at the mysterious, beautiful mitten tree. Look at that. Even a bird is flying by to check it out. And all the kids are just kind of like, wow, look at that, a tree full of beautiful mittens, all different colors. They probably looked like ornaments, didn't they? Well, when they boarded the bus, each child now wore a pair of mittens. There was enough, she must have counted, that everybody got a pair. Sarah watched, again hiding, as one by one their faces appeared in the bus windows. But still, no one looked her way as she then started home. Look at those happy faces in the bus, right? But no one says anything and no one seems to acknowledge her. But that's okay. Sarah's heart was full. It was as full as when the sounds of her own children had filled her home. In other words, she was happy because look, the tree is empty. The kids took all those wonderful mittens she had made, and they were happy, and she was happy that she had done it. As Sarah neared her porch and climbed the steps, she saw something waiting for her. There in the corner was a basket woven with thick brown vines and decorated with a large white bow. In it were balls and balls of beautiful, colorful yarn. basket and new yarn. How did they know? And she is delighted. She's got her hands on her face like, oh my goodness. Well, to this day, Sarah knits mittens for all the children in her town. And every time her basket is empty, a new full one appears, just like we saw in that other picture, right? Here she is happily knitting away, and she is meeting a need, and her heart is very giving heart, isn't it? And Sarah doesn't know who the yarn is from. No one ever said who they were when they dropped it off. They always snuck it over there, just like she snuck out her mittens. The children still don't know who the mittens are from. But someone must. And that's our last picture in the book. We're showing somebody setting that basket down. Now, who would know that she needed more yarn? Somebody must know that she's making those mittens and that she would need more yarn. So some nice person, or I don't know who it is. Some nice person, maybe one of the kids. Person that's setting down has pretty mittens with hearts on it. So maybe it's one of the children that was blessed with those mittens. Well, we don't know for sure, but we know that Sarah had a gift for knitting, and she shared that gift with others. Children that needed mittens. And that's a wonderful way to use a gift that God has given you. Ability to do something like to knit, to draw art, to repair things, to cook, to sing, all kinds of gifts. There's a lot more than just those that I mentioned. And when we share them with others, we're using the gifts God gave us to help others. And that's what He wants us to do. I hope you'll think about the gifts you have, because each one of you, Marcus, Mason, Malachi, Willa, you are special kids, and you have lots of talents, and God has special things for you to do. I love you. See you later.